Thank you. May I please have a motion to approve the agenda as presented? Councillor Skelly, Councillor Ferguson, all in favour? Carried. Are there any declarations of interest? I see none. May I please have a motion to approve the minutes of the July 6, 2016 meeting? Thank you. Councillor Pearson, Councillor Johnson, all in favour? Carried. We have no delegation requests today. We are moving on to item 5. May I please have a motion to approve item 5.1? That is Councillor Skelly and Councillor Pearson, all in favour? Carried. 5.2, are there any questions or discussion respecting 5.2? I see none. Moved by Councillor Johnson, seconded by Councillor Pearson. All in favour? Carried. Are there any questions or discussion with respect to item 5.3? Councillor Johnson.
Yep, just for the public record, this was a report and review done by Bridget, and thank you, Bridget. And this is regarding the City Enrichment Fund. And it was really just to look at the process and to make sure that everybody's playing on the same even. Really appreciate this report and look forward to all these things being accomplished.
Thank you. And are there further indications? I see none. Moved by Councillor Vanderbeek, seconded by Councillor Ferguson. All in favour? Carried. Are there questions or discussion with respect to item 5.4? Councillor Ferguson.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you, I guess to Charles Brown or to Chris. We seem to be seeing it as a negative that the whistleblower policy is not being utilized, and so now every time I turn on my computer, it alerts me, hey, you can blow the whistle, and it worries me that we're putting that out in front of all of our employees consistently. They're going to maybe start to abuse it, and I don't like the way my boss is pushing me to do more. I don't like the way he's satisfied with my performance. And so I'm going to remain anonymous and get him walked out the door and file a whistleblower complaint. And rather than go through what they should be doing in that case, it would be a grievance to the union, have the union come in and represent them. So I just want to make sure that we're not advertising this too much now because we got such good numbers. Because it can be, a complaint filed against someone, can really severely hurt a manager or a director or a general manager or a city manager. And so I want to make sure that we have the processes in place to screen these things before them allowed, if they're happening to come, before they come forward. And we walk the director out the door until investigation is complete. And in the meantime, the person making the complaint, whose performance may not be satisfactory, remains totally anonymous. And so it should be used for where employees suspect someone of fraud, where an employee is drinking on the job, where an employee is missing in action constantly, but not if you don't like the way your boss is managing you, because that should be grievance in my view. Any thoughts or comments on that?
To staff? I'm not sure who would like to answer. Charles, please go ahead.
So through the chair, I agree with part of what you're saying. The only thing is we've looked at other jurisdictions and looked at the best practices, and we're certainly not emulating those practices in terms of the transparency of and of having a process and making that available. So I think we're just trying to bring ourselves up to rise to the level of standard that's already out there in other cities, municipalities. We are looking at, and we have it on our work plan already, to actually, as part of this, to review the whistleblower policy and the fraud protocols and practices. That's actually a project that we have following our delivery of our performance reports to address some of the process issues, I think, and concerns.
Okay, and so is there any consequences? It may be right, a lot of employees don't know about the whistleblower policy. Now, every day you turn your computer on, it's going to be in front of you, and you start looking at this. And if somebody, first of all, misuses it, is there safeguards in the system that maybe yourself, would look at that and say, well, this is not really a whistleblower issue, and advise the complaint about that, or you just, if the complaint's filed, you go forward with it? Charles?
So there are criteria to have to be met for me to take on the project. You'll see in of the 3 whistleblowers that we have, 1 I declined on the basis of not meeting that criteria. So as part of the process going forward and coming up in December, One of the things that we want to look at are the criteria that are used to screen.
And is there any consequences for an employee who uses it in a vexatious way? Try to get to his boss? Very open who it is, because he gets sometimes locked out the door until investigation is complete. Absolutely anonymous. And after investigation is found to be vexatious, is there consequences for the employees that do that?
Oh, through the chair, we haven't confronted that issue yet in the reporting structure. It does refer in the policy, the whistleblower policy, to vexatious. But consequences are not alluded to. So that's one of the policy issues that we have.
Okay, Mr. Those are my concerns. Watching this, we have some very capable managers and directors who are trying to improve. This is not an opportunity for someone who is performing below a standard. Get him for doing that. Only comments at this time.
Thank you. Mr. Murray, did you want to speak?
Just if I can, I think important for Charles as the person that has direct accountability for the whistleblower bylaw to speak first. I understand what Councillor Ferguson is saying. I mean, if it is in fact being used in a vexatious manner, I mean, I would expect that Charles would be able to discern what is real and what isn't. You know, because you're right, I mean, there's no question, you know, a manager, director, general manager for myself, you know, to be taken to task through the whistleblower, I mean, certainly could potentially impact your reputation. And quite frankly, at the end of the day, that's all we have is our reputation for doing our jobs as well as we can. So there's got to be a, you know, a healthy amount of objectivity, I think, applied by our auditor, hence the reason why our auditor, I think, is the right person to look after the bylaw. At the same time, though, I mean, you know full well that there was some concerns by your colleagues that we weren't advertising this clearly enough. And to your point, though, I mean, are we going overboard? I mean, we have many bylaws, many policies that govern our day-to-day, and I just don't want our organization to feel for a second that that we're not invested in making sure that this is a workplace that people want to be in. And certainly the bylaw, I think, is an effective tool to say that there are safeguards if you see something going on that needs to be brought to our attention. Are we advertising it too much? You know, it's interesting for the number of people that have invoked the bylaw. You know, we're, you know, over 7,500 employees. We don't have a lot of numbers that are utilizing it. I mean, I don't see it as being a widespread application of the bylaw. So, you know, you know, but I think your point's well taken about, you know, are we, you know, I think when we start plastering, you know, every floor in City Hall with posters on the bylaw, I mean, that's probably overkill. I mean, people should know how to access our policies that govern behavior here. But we have taken your colleagues' comments, which you've directed us to do, and make sure that the policy is known. And so, I mean, right now, I like what Charles is saying about taking a moment to reflect whether or not this bylaw is as good as it could be, recognizing the, you know, the interests of the parties bringing the issue forward and the interests of the people that manage or other people. They want to be treated fairly. So it will continuously improve like most things that we have here. So all that to say that I think we're doing our job. I don't think there's a widespread problem. I think we have the right person looking after the bylaw, and I like the fact that we're focused on making it better, and that's exactly what Charles and Bridget and the team will do.
Okay, and I get that part, and you're right. All you have is your reputation, and we have some very capable managers and directors and general managers in the organization. If you sully their reputation, they're going to say, I don't need this shit, and go somewhere else. And we just spent $750,000 implemented over 3 years to improve the compensation for the seniors directors so that we retain them. And nothing will make them angrier than you wreck their reputation, and they'll bail out of here in a millisecond. And so I just want you to be conscious of that this thing is not abused. there's somebody who finds it easier and more confidential to use the whistleblower policy versus a grievance procedure. Have the union defend them. So, thank you.
Thanks very much. Councillor Johnson.
Thank you. Yes, with all due respect, I was the one that questioned this about 3 months ago, is how well known is it with the employees, because the numbers were at 0. And I said, are we perfect, or people are just complacent? So I want to thank you for doing the advertising, because shortly after CHML carried that story, I had an opportunity to speak with lots of employees. In particular, there were 3 of us in Glanbrook, and 3 employees with a combination of probably 85 years work experience in this corporation didn't know about this policy. It didn't mean they were going to use it. It was just nice to know there's a comfort level. So advertising with the education, what's a grievance, what is whistleblower, but we have to get the word out there that there is a policy in place. If I look at the numbers for 5 years, over the 5 years, we've had on an average 4 per year for 6,000 employees is absolutely almost nil. So I don't believe that this would be abuse. And as everyone said earlier, Charles has the know and the wherewithal to distinguish which is which. So with all due respect, this is here for a reason. We've got to make sure our employees know about it and have the comfort level of knowing that they can go and discuss about a coworker or someone who works underneath them. So this is not just for attacking management, it's also an opportunity for management to also take a look at the system and see what's wrong and how they can both be protected and get best work value out of everybody. So I'm totally comfortable with this. Thank you, Charles. I think that it's going well. We still have a lot more work to do. Education is probably the biggest piece now. This is what it is. This is what it isn't. Here's the criteria. But I like the fact that we have this here, and I just wanted to for the public record.
Thank you. Councillor Vanderbeek.
Thank you. I agree with Councillor Ferguson, but I also agree with Councillor Brenda Johnson. I think really it's like everything else here. It's about balance and finding the right. So Charles, for doing what you're doing, I think that if we can find a balance in the bylaw that gives reasonable protection to all, then we've achieved our goal. And that's an evolution always, and so we'll work toward that. As far as the advertising goes, I have to admit that whistle in my face every time I turn the computer on gets to the point where you don't see it. And I think that's true of road advertising and everything else. So I'm wondering if it isn't possible to advertise more than just whistleblowing. And, you know, when I turn my computer on this time, I might get the whistleblower ad, and the next time I might get something about something else, our strategic plan or whatever it is. But to rotate some of those ads so that it's a different one when you turn your computer on and you might actually look at it, I know that's possible. So I'm just thinking that maybe that might be the way around feeling like we're being inundated with this big whistle in the middle of the screen. So anyway, those are my thoughts, and thank you, because I think this whistleblower policy is a really important one, particularly in an organization this size. And I think that we need to make sure that the avenues are open for everybody, the manager, the director, the frontline employee, everybody, to be able to have their say when they feel like there's something going on that shouldn't be happening to them or within the organization. So thanks very much for your work on this.
Thank you very much. I wonder if staff could respond to that idea of rotating ads. Chris.
Yeah, to you, Chairman, absolutely. There are many things that we can be putting in front of people, and your suggestions, I think, are appropriate. And in fact, I'm in the process of emailing the person that controls what goes on that screen, just to say, you know, probably having a mix that better reflects all the work that we're focused on here in the city would make more sense. So, but, you know, at least you can say that we were listening when you told us to advertise it, and we were there in spades. So we'll change it up.
Thank you. I see no further speakers on this item. Thank you, Councillor Pearson, seconded by Councillor Skelly. I was about to say Councillor Donna. All in favor? Thank you very much. That dispenses with item 5. We have no public hearings or delegations. We have no presentations. We are on to item 8, which is discussion items. 8.1, Councillor Johnson.
Yep, thank you. This is regarding our Hamilton Fire Department and the driver certification program. So, Bridget, thank you very much for this report. I think it speaks in spades how well our department's doing when you consider how many trucks are involved and how many drivers are involved. So I just want to put a shout out to the fire department. I think that this is a great report. One minor infraction, I don't know what it is, but if it's minor, I'm assuming I'm going to take it at face value. So I didn't know if Bridget wanted to comment on this report, because I know it had to have been somewhat extensive considering how many people are on file.
Thank you, Councillor Johnson. Bridget, I wonder if you would like to comment.
Or Charles, that's fine.
Either one.
Through the chair, yeah, we're very pleased with the outcome. The one minor infraction, it was minor, it had to do with the training vehicles, the vehicles that were used for training purposes, some minor variance with standard, and that was the only issue across the board. So I think it was, as you know, these are requirements under
Right.
MTO
Right.
we have to